Hi there, Sandy Freshie, back with another video. Thank you so much for joining me and Happy New Year. Happy 2020. So our first video, or our first few videos of this year, will talk about the subject of human design and the gene keys. This was inspired by a lovely conversation that I had the other night with an old friend of mine who learned that I was going to be doing Richard Rudd's activation sequence retreat from January to April. And she didn't know anything about the gene keys, and she wanted to, it just lit her up and she wanted to know more about it. So she had some really good questions, and I'm just going to talk about the first question that she had in this video. And then in the subsequent videos, we'll talk about a couple of her other questions. Before we get started, I want to invite you to, remember to invite you to subscribe. And if you like my channel and like this video, if you find it helpful, and share it with anyone else that you think it would benefit. So our question today, or the question that my friend had first off about human design and the gene keys, is what's the difference between the two of them? And you know, if you've been around human design for a while, you've probably heard about the gene keys. Maybe you've got the Gene Keys book. Maybe you've even started the Golden Path. You know, there's an overlay between the two of them, and they're also very different in their approach to understanding yourself. So you probably recognize this. This is a human design body graph. And what is on here that is overlaid or related to the gene keys are these numbers right here, which are part of the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. These are the genetic themes, the genetic potentials that you're here to live out. And they are, some of them that are on this body graph can also be seen on the hologenetic profile that's produced as your map through the Golden Path program, or the process that Richard Rudd has outlined. So you will see these numbers here as well, and you can trace them back to your human design blueprint if you're really interested in doing that. So what I told my friend when she said, what's the difference between human design and the gene keys, is, and this is my opinion, and you may have your own if you've been working with both systems for a while, and I welcome you to make your comments about that and make your contribution of your understanding of the difference. But what I told her was that the human design chart is a map, or it's a blueprint of your potentials, of your genetic potentials. And if you look at this, it really does kind of look like a blueprint or an electrical schematic when you're that you would look at when you're building a house, or when you're looking at the plans for a building. So consider this as kind of like the plans for building our body mind vehicle that our soul, some of our soul aspects get to live in. So human design is this blueprint of those potentials. It's not necessarily showing you what to put on the walls, or what curtains to hang, or what furniture to put in, or anything like that. It's the blueprint. You know a lot. You can know a lot about your potentials. You can know a lot about the themes that you carry. You can know a lot about what you're taking in from other people. All of those kinds of things from this blueprint. The gene keys, in my opinion, takes it a step further, in the sense that the gene keys is kind of, especially if you're following the Golden Path, it's kind of like the map for your journey the journey of evolving your consciousness, evolving your understanding of who you are as body, mind, spirit, soul, what you're here to get from this life. And you're evolving your consciousness so that you can experience the highest version of your potential. So here's your potential outlined in a very logical way that you can see, which is why I love this chart so much, because you can just look at the picture, and if you know anything about the chakra system or something about astrology or the I Ching, certain things will light up about what the original plan was for you or for your vehicle. Or your bodysuit, and how your mind and your personality kind of live through it. But the limitation that I found with human design is that it is really complicated. It's so in depth when you are looking for what you need to get from it in order to evolve your consciousness. This is a mind system. This is a system to kind of keep your mind busy and occupied, testing out and experimenting with your strategy and your authority, and learning about your gates and your channels and all of this great visual material here, and then applying that in a very linear and concrete way to your life. So this is a very strategic kind of a platform, or a strategic kind of a framework for understanding yourself. The Gene Keys, on the other hand, is more of a well, as Richard puts it, this is a process of contemplation. Whether you contemplate one key on your hologenetic profile, whether you contemplate the entire 64 gene keys, because we all have, we're all humans, we all have the same 64 genetic codons, or codons of DNA, but we have some that are more prominently experienced and more significant than others that we understand through this particular profile. So this is more of a fluid, integrative process of opening your heart to what is unseeable and unknowable about yourself until you see it and know it with your heart and with your non-linear mind, if that makes sense. So that's why the two of these, I feel, work really well together. And it's why I love both of them. I've done the activation sequence. I did it about 3 years ago, which is why I jumped at this opportunity to do it with Richard in real time, because I want to go back and do that. I've gone through the Pearl sequence, which is this center part. The activation is, we'll get into that in another video, but it's the green aspects of the hologenetic profile. The Pearl sequence is to help you understand and give you some things to contemplate, to open your heart, so that you can move into the Pearl sequence, which I'll be doing this year, which is about taking you back to your original, back to your life's work, and anchoring in the aspects about your, your abundance, how you're here to do the work that you're here to do, for the resources that you're here to create or co-create with others. So this is really a pathway and a journey that is very deep. It's very laid back in certain respects. It's not the logical framework that can keep your mind busy and sometimes very confused. Although some people who get into contemplating the gene keys do get overwhelmed. But one of the things that I want to say about this hologenetic profile or contemplating any of the gene keys is that it is kind of like it's holographic in nature, meaning that if you contemplate one key and you unlock your genetic potential of that one key, it has an effect on everything else in your genetics and in the way that you live out your potential. So that's the difference between human design and the gene keys, and that's the overlay of how they relate as well. Linear, logical, for the strategic mind to engage with, so that you can have something to experiment and prove out the validity of your design. And then this is about the journey of evolving your awareness, your consciousness, awakening your potential through the more receptive, passive experience of contemplation. So that's it for today. I will be back with our next question in the next video. And if you are interested in checking out the Gene Keys and Richard Rudd's activation sequence retreat, I will leave my link down below so that you can go there and check it out. So until the next time, be well.